Okay, convention. I would just like, in the first instance, to preface my comments here today by offering Anne Piggott my heartiest congratulations and the best wishes in her forthcoming role as ASTI President. I very much look forward to working with her. I also want to congratulate Pádraig Murphy on his re-election as Honorary Treasurer. And indeed, I know from working with him over the last number of years, I beg your pardon, over the last year, that the finances of the Union are in very safe hands in that. And may I also, because we are in the final days of an unprecedented presidency in unprecedented times, pay particular tribute here to Deirdre MacDonald. When I was thinking about this, the title of a book and a television series from some decades ago, I know I'm showing my age now, it was called A Woman of Substance. And it came rushing into my head, that phrase. There can be no doubt that the sheer depth and substance of Deirdre's character has been one of the most striking features of this union's management of the current crisis, and we must all be very grateful for it. At the most recent Standing Committee meeting, where deserved and fulsome praise was being paid to her, I made the point that there will be another occasion in better times to properly pay tribute to her contribution to this union, and we all look forward to that. Convention, when we all sat down to our Christmas dinners last year, none of us would have imagined the manner in which matters would unfold in the following months. The enormity of the imposition into all of our lives and our workplaces could not have been foreseen. For teachers, the imposition was particularly acute. However, there is no doubt that the members of the ASTI, the teachers of this country, can hold their heads up high. Their response was simply incredible. Within days of the lockdown and the closure of our schools, without resources or training, teachers were delivering a service to their students remotely that stands as a massive credit to their professionalism, their commitment to their students and to their communities. That's not to mention the astonishing work that has been done on calculated grades and much more. I believe that when the history of this period is written, full and true recognition of the enormity of their contribution will be recorded. The vital social role of the education system and of teachers in particular is now apparent to everyone. The shift to online and distance teaching and learning reminded everyone just how skilled the teaching profession is, and underlined that teacher-learning interaction is essential in quality education. When the schools closed down, we were in the midst of a ballot on the matter of equal pay for equal work. There was the ongoing row about the timing of SLAR meetings. Other issues that were looming included so-called reform of the senior cycle and the introduction of a student and parent-teacher charter that would exclude any meaningful reference to teachers, to name just two. And then, of course, we had the long 139-day limbo in which we had a caretaker government. One thing is for sure, the issues I have listed and more are not going away, and you can rest assured that we in the ASTI will continue to pursue each and every one of them as time progresses. But in the short time I have available to me here today, I am going to concentrate on two matters that will definitely feature in the immediate future. The first of these is the reopening of schools that will happen in just a short few weeks. Let me say this first. From an ASTI perspective, an immutable truth is that in each and every instance in our schools upon reopening, the health and advice provided by the Health Protection Surveillance Centre and other appropriate health authorities must be implemented in full and at all times. The beginning, the middle, and the end of all this is that our members, together with their students and everyone in our school communities, must be entirely safe. Some of you may have been watching when I was asked recently at a hearing of the Dáil COVID-19 committee what a standard classroom with 30 students, 2 special needs assistants and a teacher would look like in September. I responded that it would look empty because it would not be tolerated by ASTI. I repeat that message here. I have no doubt that some of what emerges in terms of arrangements for reopening of schools will not be entirely to our liking. But there can be no compromising on the health of teachers and students. The requirements set out in the medical advice issued recently by the Health Protection Surveillance Centre and as it becomes updated as we go along, will have to be adhered to. Schools will have to be COVID-19 secure workplaces. I mentioned the Dáil COVID-19 committee there, and at that we set out our stall on key matters that will have to be addressed. These included ensuring the health, safety and well-being of students, teachers and other school personnel. This is vitally important because it must be remembered that ASTI has a significant number of members with very high risk underlying conditions and are extremely worried about returning to workplaces that place them in greater danger of contracting or transmitting the virus. We raised the matter of adjusting the physical infrastructure to maintain social distancing. We emphasised that implementing the National Return to Work Safely Protocol, as it will apply in schools, and assuring compliance is of a top priority. Attending to the needs of vulnerable members of the school community was also highlighted. We pointed out that dealing with the enormity of the initiative overload burden placed on schools in recent years and rebalancing the inspection process in schools so that these don't constitute a barrier to an efficient school reopening and making up for lost time will be very important. It will be crucial to address the equity issues that were thrown into the limelight in such a stark manner after the school closures in March, as a matter of urgent priority at national and school level. And of course, we highlighted that students with special and additional educational needs have suffered enormously during this period. Their needs will have to be addressed. Since we addressed that Dáil committee, we have been invited to meetings with the Department of Education and Skills with a view to us providing our input into their guidance for school reopening, which I understand they intend to issue next week before the end of the month, indeed. In terms of the issues we have been raising with them, we've provided a large shopping list. We insisted on a large and comprehensive investment in the process from central government. The penny pinching underinvestment in our schools has gone on for too long. The cuts have been too deep, and if ever there was a moment that they will need to step up to the plate, it is with the reopening of schools in the midst of a pandemic. Obviously, first up on the list of things that need to be addressed in any reopening of schools will be comprehensive measures to support social distancing in line with the medical advice. We've demanded substantial capital investment for works within schools in the areas of storage, ventilation, rental of extra spaces where necessary, and so on. Yesterday, we got sight of the government's July stimulus package, which includes a capital allocation of €42 million for post-primary schools to carry out what they call reconfiguration works. I understand that the type of works may involve reconfiguration of classroom space, repurposing of rooms to provide additional space, adapting storage facilities, altering desk layouts, adapting toilet areas, and so on. In truth, it is doubtful that this capital works package will be enough to meet the enormous challenges that are out there. I suspect they will have to dig deeper. In any event, in terms of the necessary suite of measures that will be required for successful reopening of schools, it is only the tip of the iceberg. We in ASTI have been demanding extra teaching appointments in our schools to break down those large classes and remove us from the bottom rung of the OECD ladder in that respect. There will also have to be substantial additional support provided to schools to cater for the major enhancement of cleaning and hygiene regimes and requirements that are going to be necessary. We pushed for the arrangements now in place for a central procurement arrangement, whereby schools can draw down supplies for sanitizer and PPE materials at no cost to the schools. The department have assured us that there will be an abundance of sanitizing and PPE supplies available to schools from the get-go. We will be holding them to that promise. We all know that a safe return to school will be predicated on robust control measures being in place to keep COVID-19 out of our schools and effective protocols to deal with any suspected cases that might occur. Safety is paramount. In addition to regular teaching appointments, we have argued for substantial additional support in the areas of supervision and substitution. There is no doubt that existing resources will be inadequate. No more can a teacher soldier on, as many are inclined to do, when a cough or a sore throat persists for days. We also have demanded some support for our school leaders. We have pointed out that the examinations aid model of support is already in existence in schools, and school leaders need to be supported using a variant of this model. Putting in place the arrangements for return to school will be a mammoth task. A detailed training initiative must be available for all school personnel to allow for a smooth reintegration of all concerned after such a long absence in such egregious circumstances. We have made out the case for a range of initiatives on the industrial relations side of things too, not least of which is the need for revised leave arrangements in the context of an inevitable increase in absences and to cater for those high-risk, vulnerable teachers. Indeed, we have also argued the case for a comprehensive and wide-ranging programme of support for staff and student well-being as part of the overall return to school package. On the curriculum side, there will be need for considerable thought and considerable support to be provided subject by subject to take stock of where we are and what needs to be done as we move forward in uncertain times. The assessment arrangements next year in some instances will benefit from adjustments. We have pressed for detailed guidance on these matters. We have demanded that the brakes be put on the introduction of new subject syllabi and so on. The new art subject specifications and the new LCA modules due to be introduced need to be deferred. It's simply not practical to proceed. The initiative overload of the last number of years must come to an abrupt halt. It is the least they can do this year. Indeed, ASTI have succeeded already in securing clarity with regard to the inspectorate's role upon the reopening of schools. Following representations ASTI made, the Department of Education have issued Circular 41 of 2020, which sets out adjustment to school self-evaluation and school inspections in the 2020-21 school year. It clarifies the arrangements for school self-evaluation and notifies schools and centres for education that there will be no new requirements for SSE in this period. We have secured a position whereby the focus of the work of the inspectorate will shift from evaluation and largely be focused on advice and research. Inspection activity will be confined to a small number of priority inspections, including work to complete inspections commenced prior to the 12th of March in 2020, and a number of child protection and safeguarding inspections and urgent follow-through inspections. On another front, we have advocated at the current discussions that the Department of Education and Skills develop a students' COVID-19 Code of Behaviour template that can be appended to the existing arrangements applied in schools. There is no doubt that expectations, especially around key aspects of behaviour required to prevent the spread of the infection, arise. Indeed, it will be necessary that an effective communication strategy that bolsters the COVID-19 plans and procedures in schools will be in place for parents, teachers and students alike. The stakes are just so high. Compliance will have to be at a very high level. And when I speak of compliance, many of you will be aware that the National Return to Work Safely Protocol mandates that there be lead worker representatives appointed in all workplaces. This is going to be a vital role in schools and one in which we expect many ASTI members to be involved. We have been working assiduously to ensure that proper and appropriate guidelines are put in place for schools to secure these appointments. The purpose of the role is to work collaboratively with the employer to assist in the implementation of measures and monitor adherence to the measures to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Strong communication and a shared collaborative approach between all stakeholders will be key to protecting against the spread of COVID-19 in schools and looking after the health, safety and well-being of our school communities. Schools have to appoint at least one lead worker representative charged with ensuring that COVID-19 measures are strictly adhered to. Those undertaking the role must receive the necessary training and have a structured framework to follow within the school to be effective in preventing the spread of the virus. This means that proper and meaningful discussions need to take place and a structure needs to be in place whereby a lead worker representative can raise concerns and have them addressed by management within a short period of time. There is a responsibility on management to address these concerns without delay. It is important that we remember that these roles are mandatory and that the consultation that takes place is also mandatory, and it is not the subject of negotiation. We have been arguing that this is a vital role and have insisted that time off be provided from normal duties for lead worker representatives and that it will have to be allocated to ensure that the function is properly supported. This will have to be achieved. However, and just in case I've just frightened the daylights out of anyone who might wish to allow their name forward to perform this role, notwithstanding the serious nature of the role, the lead worker representative is not responsible for the control measures within an organisation. That unequivocally remains the employer's responsibility. Convention, we are at a point that a pathway and a roadmap will soon have to be issued to schools to facilitate their reopening. I can tell you that ASTI is working hard to ensure that strong guidance will be issued to schools on all key matters, supported by a funding package that it deserves. It remains to be seen if the government will deliver. ASTI will engage with the Department of Education and Skills and all the other relevant stakeholders to ensure a safe reopening of our schools to the maximum extent possible. It is only an agreed set of protocols that enjoy the trust and the confidence of all the stakeholders that will secure that objective, thus decreasing anxiety and supporting the health of the entire school community. I mentioned earlier that I wanted to discuss a second matter too. You will all, of course, know that the Public Services Stability Agreement comes to a conclusion at the end of 2020. In normal circumstances, a replacement draft agreement would likely have been already negotiated, and it would be probable that we would be in the process of balloting on it together with other public services unions around now. A mixture of the COVID crisis and the delay in government formation has meant that there has been no progress. What we do know at this point is that the new government have already indicated that they will honour the final 2% pay restoration under the PSSA in October 2020. We have delivered on our side of the bargain. It is only right that they would deliver on theirs. The new programme for government states that they will seek to negotiate a new public deal with the public service unions. Interestingly, it also commits to a bargaining clause in order to make progress on sectoral issues. In terms of priorities, ASTI will once again put the issue of unequal pay up there in lights at such talks. We will, as we always do, fight to maintain the concept of pension parity. We will defend our members from any attacks that will inevitably emerge on their conditions of service, and we will seek to ensure that pay will be advanced and that it will be protected. ASTI will engage with the Department of Education and Skills and all the other relevant stakeholders to ensure a decent outcome for our members. However, one thing is for sure, and we have proven it many times, we will not be taken for granted. COVID-19 has unleashed an unprecedented health and social economic crisis here in Ireland and right across the globe. In education, the impact on students, staff and schools is enormous. As mentioned earlier, teachers adapted fast to support their learners and their communities, but the negative consequences for the quality and fairness of education could last for years. This situation has shone a light on the fundamental flaws in the way many countries, including our own, have been managing their public services, especially education. I don't need to restate Ireland's horrendous underinvestment figures in comparison to other OECD countries again. You know them too well. The truth is that we need a radical rethink of Ireland's chronic underinvestment in public services. There must be a paradigm shift in Ireland's economic and political priorities. Austerity and neoliberal education policies caused enormous damage over the past decade, undermining equality in education and driving many teachers from the profession. The mistakes of the past must not be repeated. The return to school arrangements currently being put together by the government and the Department of Education, together with the public service pay deal and pensions deal in the offing in the autumn, will set the tone for the years to come. It will not come cheap. The government must rise to the challenge. For our part, ASTI stands ready to play our role in rebuilding and achieving a more equal and sustainable education for all. Thank you.